Level 1, the hostile class. You are born with a number, not a name that matters. A number in the Songbun system. This is North Korea's caste system. It determines everything about your life before you take your first breath. Your grandfather fought for the South during the Korean War. Or maybe he owned land before the Revolution. Or maybe he was a Christian. Or maybe he was a merchant, an intellectual, someone who asked too many questions. Whatever he did, his crime is now yours. You are in the hostile class, the lowest of the low. 25% of the population lives here with you. You will never leave your village in the mountains. You will never see Pyongyang. You will never go to university. You will never join the party. You will never travel abroad. You will never own anything of value. You will work in a coal mine or a collective farm until your body gives out. Then you will die, and your children will take your place. Your food rations are smaller than everyone else's. When the famines come, and they come often, you are the first to starve. In the winter, you eat bark soup. You boil tree bark and grass and corn husks to fill your stomach. You catch rats and consider them a luxury. Your children look at you with hollow eyes. You have nothing to give them. Some people in your class disappear. They said something wrong. They looked at a portrait of the supreme leader with an expression that someone interpreted as disrespectful. They listened to a South Korean radio broadcast. They tried to cross the river into China. They are sent to the camps, Won-Leo political prison camps. No one comes back from the camps. You've heard the rumors from the guards who drink too much. Whole families vanish. 3 generations punished for one person's mistake. Grandparents, parents, children, all sent to dig in the mines until they die. You keep your head down. You work 16 hours a day. You don't ask questions. You don't think questions. You hope that one day, maybe in 100 years, your descendants will be allowed to be human. Level 2, the wavering class. You are in the middle, not loyal enough to be trusted, not disloyal enough to be eliminated. Your family has no obvious crimes, but also no obvious heroes. Maybe your father was a simple factory worker. Maybe your mother was a school teacher who said something critical once decades ago and someone remembered. The state isn't sure about you, so you are watched. Not as closely as the hostile class, but watched. You can work in a factory in a small city. You can become a teacher or a nurse or a low-level clerk, but you will never work in Pyongyang. The capital is reserved for the loyal. You will never travel abroad. You will never see your file, the one that determines your entire life. It sits in a government office somewhere, filled with reports from informers, observations from party officials, assessments of your ideological reliability. You just know that some doors are closed. Your rations are adequate when times are good. You have electricity a few hours a day, maybe. You have a small apartment with a portrait of the supreme leader that you must keep spotlessly clean. Dust on the great leader's face is a political crime. You report to the neighborhood watch committee, the INCOM. They know when you come home. They know who visits you. They count how many bowls you have, how many pairs of shoes. They know if you're hiding anything. Once a week, there are self-criticism sessions. You stand in front of your neighbors and confess your ideological shortcomings. You didn't study the supreme leader's teachings hard enough. You were late to the factory. You had a selfish thought. You envied your neighbor's radio. Everyone confesses something. The ones who confess nothing are the suspicious ones. The ones who confess too much are also suspicious. You must confess exactly the right amount. Level 3, the core class. You are trusted. Your grandfather was a revolutionary. He fought the Japanese occupation. He marched with Kim Il-sung across the frozen Yalu River. His loyalty runs in your blood. At least that's what the state believes. You live in a decent apartment in a regional city. You have a television. It receives only the state channel, but you have it. You watch the news every night. The same triumphant reports about record harvests and factory production and the supreme leader's brilliant guidance. You have a refrigerator, even though the power goes out so often that keeping food cold is a gamble. You can apply for a bicycle permit. A bicycle is a luxury. You can visit relatives in other provinces with the right paperwork if you apply weeks in advance and explain exactly why you need to travel. Your children can go to university if they study hard, pass the ideological tests, and show proper revolutionary spirit. University means a better job, better rations, maybe even a posting in Pyongyang. You are not rich, but you are stable. You have food when others don't. You have a future when others have only survival. You are grateful to the supreme leader for everything you have. You have been taught to be grateful since the day you were born. Every meal, every piece of clothing, every breath of air is a gift from the party. You believe this. You have to believe this. The alternative is unthinkable. The alternative means everything you have built, everything your grandfather fought for was a lie. Level 4, the party member. You join the Korean Workers' Party. This is the first real step into the elite. Only 10% of the population is allowed in. You had to be recommended by existing members who vouched for your loyalty. You had to prove yourself through years of voluntary labor, unpaid work for the state. You had to memorize the teachings of the supreme leader, his father, Kim Jong-il, and his grandfather, Kim Il-sung. You can recite the history of the revolution. You know every battle, every hero, every enemy, every victory against the imperialist Americans and their puppet regime in the South. Now you have access. You can shop at special stores where they have goods that ordinary citizens have never seen. Imported fruit, real coffee, chocolate, medicine that actually works. You get better housing in a better neighborhood. You get a party ID card that opens doors, literal doors that are locked to everyone else. But with access comes responsibility. You must attend party meetings every week, sometimes more. You must contribute money from your salary. You must volunteer for political campaigns. You must recruit others and guide their ideological development. You must report disloyalty. If your neighbor says something questionable about the regime, you must tell someone. If you don't report it and someone else does, you are complicit. You become an informer. Everyone is an informer. The party survives because no one trusts anyone. Not your coworkers, not your neighbors, not your spouse, especially not your spouse. Marriage is a partnership, but loyalty to the party comes first. Level 5, the local cadre. You're a cadre now, a local official with real responsibility. Maybe you run a factory producing textiles or machinery. Maybe you manage a district of 10,000 people. Maybe you oversee agricultural production for an entire county. You have real power for the first time. Power means responsibility and danger. Everything in your jurisdiction is your fault. If production is down, you answer for it. If there is unrest, you answer for it. If someone escapes to China, you answer for it. If there's a flood, a drought, a disease outbreak, you answer for it. You cannot blame your workers. You cannot blame the weather. You cannot blame the system. The system is perfect. Only people fail. The supreme leader's guidance is flawless. Only your implementation is lacking. You learn to cook the books. Everyone does. You report higher production numbers than you actually have. You hide problems. You cover up accidents. If the truth got out, you would be sent down. Sent down means losing everything. Your apartment, your party membership, your access to special stores, your family status. Sent down means becoming wavering class, or worse. So you lie. You lie to your superiors, who are lying to their superiors, who are lying to Pyongyang. The Central Committee receives reports of record harvests, while people starve in the villages. The entire country runs on lies stacked on lies. The supreme leader probably knows. He has to know. But the lies are part of the system. The system requires lies to function. Level 6, the Pyongyang elite. You made it. You live in the capital. Only 3 million people are allowed here. The most loyal, the most connected, the most useful. Everyone else is forbidden from entering without special permission. There are checkpoints on every road into the city. Pyongyang doesn't look like the rest of the country. There are skyscrapers and wide boulevards. There are cars, actual private cars, not just military vehicles. There are shops with actual products in the windows. There are restaurants and theaters and parks. It looks almost modern, almost normal, almost like a real city. Foreigners who visit see only Pyongyang. They don't see the villages where children eat grass. You have a nice apartment with reliable electricity, at least most of the time. You have hot water. You have access to foreign films, carefully selected ones that show the decadence and moral corruption of the West. You have a car, maybe a status symbol that tells everyone you matter. You send your children to elite schools, where they learn languages, sciences, and the proper way to serve the regime. But even here you are watched, especially here. The capital is full of surveillance. Every building has informers embedded in every floor. Every office has listeners. Your phone is tapped. Your conversations are monitored. Secret police walk the streets in plain clothes, watching for any sign of disloyalty. You can fall at any moment. One wrong word, one suspicious friendship, one relative who defected to the South. The higher you rise, the longer and harder you fall. Level 7, the military general. You wear the uniform, the crisp green jacket covered in medals that stretch from your shoulder to your belt. Some of the medals you earned through decades of service. Some were given to you because the supreme leader likes your face, or because you clapped loudly enough at the right moment. You command thousands of soldiers. On paper, you command millions. The Korean People's Army is one of the largest standing armies in the world.
but your soldiers are malnourished teenagers who faint during parade rehearsals. Your equipment is Soviet-era machinery that hasn't been updated since the 1980s. Your tanks haven't moved in years because there's no fuel to run them. Your aircraft are grounded. Your navy rusts in port. It doesn't matter. Your job isn't to fight a real war. Your job is to threaten one. You stand behind the supreme leader at parades. You take notes during his speeches that you will never read again. You clap exactly as long as everyone else claps. Never longer, never shorter. You are a prop, a symbol. The medals on your chest are theater. But you also have power, real economic power. The military controls factories, mines, construction projects. It runs its own shadow economy separate from the civilian government. You skim from this economy. Everyone does. You live well. You have a villa outside the city with servants. You have access to the most restricted goods. Scotch whiskey, Cuban cigars, Mercedes automobiles. No one questions a general. But other generals are watching. The Supreme